they took the bog from, or they rented the bog from the man that owned it, and they gave him employment on it, or whoever was in his family as well, if they were able to work on it, and then others as well then. And there was a lot of people employed on it, and they cut out the turf and saved them and all, and they were lorried away, then built in stacks and put away and so on. I suppose they had a market for them too, the council as well, you see.
So was this something just specific to the emergency because there's no coal coming in? Or?
No, I don't know. I don't think so. I wouldn't. I just really, the coal pits would be on the go at that time, you know, too as well. But I don't know how that was got going or whatever. It probably was in the wartime, maybe. That's why they were getting a market for them. It all died, passed over then after there was near a word more about it.
Right. It's interesting. I haven't heard of it that kind of much. Obviously, people had their own plot of turf.
That's right. Aye.
Did you do that when you were young?
No, I didn't. I never worked with them. But I'd be going to school. I'd be school age at that time. But I remember to know what going on. Like, you know, I'd be very young now.
Yeah, but in terms of your own kind of family, would your family have a plot of turf, or if plot's the right word, would you cut turf every summer?
Oh Lord, every summer.
Okay.
And yes, up to now as well.
And I'm just wondering, can you tell me about that in terms of what actually involved with you using the slan?
That's right. You went away every year, like, and you take off the sod off the bank. It's we call it stripping. It's more place to call it peeling it. There'd be that depth of a sod on it before you come down to where the turf is. And then, there was a man there with a barrow, and a man, turf man cutting, and you cut out the turf out to him, and he'd wheel them out from you. And that was, he'd load the barrow and wheel it out, and way out on spread ground, it's called it. Back in again and cut out another one. That was, they went on at that the whole day. And it would take, they reckoned, it would need to be a real good cutter of turf, that it cut enough of turf for a house in 4 days. You know, they'd have enough then for to do you the whole, but like most men, it would take them a week, and some of them more, but they was being able to do it in 4 days. What to keep the fire going in any house for the whole year.
Was there kind of an expertise then with the guy with the slan?
There was men good at it, real good at it, and there was more, you know, wouldn't be near. They wouldn't cut maybe quarter or half what the other man had cut. They just couldn't, it wasn't on their hand, you know, they weren't, they'd keep at it, but it'd take them a long time. It was mean that was just, they were gifted at it and could do a lot of it, you know, by the day.
And was that strength or technique?
It was more technique than anything else. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't just really a however, there was some in just naturally on their hand. Then the man that was putting out the turf, that was wheeling the turf, had to be good too, because if he wasn't keeping the turf out from them, the man that was cutting them was held as well. You know, his time was put in. The man that was wheeling them, he was going fast, and like no delays, he was back in again, and he was all the time over with the spade, you see.
Right. So the guy taking away the turf with a barrow, maybe? He had
a lot to do too, you know. He had to be as good as his man with the cutting to put out the amount of turf.
So what would happen, the turf would be laid out singly for, I don't know, a few days?
Well, they throw them off the barrow, and there'd be little piles when they come down off the barrow, you know. And there was an act in doing that too. There was a certain way that you take them, when you throw them off the barrow, that to be kind of just in a little rows up on the other. So they'd leave them for days that way, and they'd be saving with the way they were thrown, like they'd be in lines, you know, with 2 lines of turf like that, and they'd be saving fairly well in the barrow before they moved them at all. And the idea of that was that when you go scattering them around, you wouldn't be breaking them. There'd be a skin taken, and they'd be toughed in, and they'd be able to to throw them around about you, you see. Otherwise, if they were fresh, they'd break away because the bog was pure soft. So that was that idea.
And so there was, I can't think of the term, would it be laid up on fours or something to dry out all of it?
Afterwards, I know they scattered them all out first, out of the barrels, pure flat. And when there be a certain amount of time, then on the tops of them and down on the sides, not maybe the bottom, they'd have a good skin taken, they'd be haired, you know. They put them up a little buttons in, 3 and 4 of them together, and leave one of them up on top.
And then after
they might never do no more with them if there was good weather to save and that, and you had no more to do with it. Well, it was years then, if there were many million years, you see, they'd make what they used to call clamps of them. They'd put maybe 7 or 8 of them buttons into one clamp, and they'd build them up like a little frieze. It's called put them standing up, rise them up little piles about that height off the ground. And then they'd save away on that then.
So then ultimately after that, all the turf would be taken and piled up again?
Piled, oh, that's right. They'd be brought away into a stack then, about home or whatever. At least some people used to leave them on the bog and bring them home as they needed them. More bring them all home together, with horses and carts. And
would how come the rain then during winter wouldn't get it? You know, you'd be outdoors, you'd have a pile.
Well, they touch them with rushes. They put rushes on them, and you put the same. You went round about the whole lot of them, and there was an art in doing that too. You see, you know, and the lighter you went with the rush on the turf, the better. Just if you put a depth of them on them, you could rot them. Whatever was to it, you want to put a very light quarter rushes on the top, so as the air get in and out. If you piled them up on them, any dampness that went in, they would get in no air, and they used to get damper and damper, you know. So they're always reckoned that would have on turf were very, very, very light, just the depth of the rush.
In terms of food and diet when you were growing up, presumably people grew their own food?
They did. They grew all the spuds, vegetables and all, and milked cows, and churned, so they made their own butter.
So, like in terms of the butter, how was that actually made?
Because they had churns, big wooden churns, and there was a dash in it, you know. Then they had to work away at that for a certain amount of time till the butter came on the milk. Then it had to be taken off.
Was that something that was ever sold on, or was it something that was kept for the family?
Kept for the family, but some of them, I never saw much of the selling, but they used to at one time. People used to go to Manor Hamilton with it before my time, and sell it at markets and all that type of thing. And I don't remember that now.
Just on that, would in eggs, would you have had hens?
Hens as well. Every house had.
And would there be a surplus of?
There used to be a surplus of eggs brought to the shops as well, and that got tea and sugar and other little items that you weren't producing yourself. Other than all, that was the main thing that they were working on, you see, because there wasn't money. There was no money, you see, in a lot of cases that time, you see. No employment. And you had to live on whatever you were producing yourself. The only bit of thing that might be was the creamery. They sent milk to the creamery then, maybe a few cows milk and like a bit of a check then for that few months of the summertime. Otherwise, in a lot of cases, there was no employment. They just had to live at what they were producing themselves. Then it all based, then you'd sell. And that time, the market for them used to be very bad too. You could go 12 months of the year and you could go to a fair and might be nobody to buy it. I think that happened several times. Like nobody to look at them.
Just going back to the eggs thing, was that would you get money back in the shop?
You would. You would, if you wanted, you could get the price of them. That or you could put it into tea, sugar or bread or whatever. Most cases there wasn't much bread to buy in here. There was to be tin stone bags of flour. And they used to get the full tin stone bag. And that was several cakes, because there was most houses there was a lot of big families in it. And the big cakes, there was a woman baking constant. baking cakes of bread, but in very, very rare, there was no loaf bread because they couldn't afford it anyway.
So would it be soda, buttermilk bread?
That's right, mixed with buttermilk bread.
Would that be white bread or brown bread or both?
Pardon?
White bread or brown bread?
To be white mostly, or pure white bread. There were some people, you know, that was a lot better bakers than others, like, you know, they could make a better job of it, you know. More than, but they all don't know whatever they produce themselves anyway.
Well, in terms of fuel, you had turf, and in
Turf,
terms of
the food you had.
your own
That
food.
was it. That was it.
And what about a lot of families, even from the last time we met, would have a bonnet or a pig? Or...
That's right. We had that too.
Okay, so
Most cases, you bought them at, we'll say, around April, and you fed them on then on skim milk that was coming from the creamery, spuds, mostly meal or that type of thing, and kept on going then until on to let's say to November, into November, and then he killed them then and sorted them and cured them. That done for the most of 12 months again, especially on up into spring anyway, or on into the summer part of the year.
So, could you just tell me when the pig will be bought, and then
He'd be bought in around April, around the 23rd of April, and he'd about 6 months it would take to fatten him in them times, and he'd be probably 18 stone weight or 20 stone weight when he'd be killed, because they reckon he'd be no good to sort him if he wouldn't to cure, like if he was too light. The bacon that'd be on him wouldn't be suitable for that purpose. If he was around 12 stone weight or 13 stone weight, well, when he'd be cured, to go in where like a board, to be no depth. The bacon that used to be on there would be out that depth. And when to be cured, to be as hard and as firm you could cut it with a knife.
And I'm just thinking how you talked about the diet. How would this be the normal crop that you had?
Mostly the normal crop, yeah. There was two different types of spuds. There was Care Pinks was the ones that we mostly always grew that done the best on the land around here, like anyway, because the land was poor, you know. But they used to get the best return off them. Then there was other spuds in called the Iron Banners. They grew to be a big size. You could grow them maybe for pigs or like that, because they came a big bulk of them. But for to go eating them like that, they were pure, you know, they were very soft and you know, watery. But they were suitable enough for animals.
So you kind of specifically
grew them for that purpose.
I'm kind of curious in a morbid way of how you actually killed the pig when you had this big animal.
Oh, he was the way the country people had for killing him. There was 2 or 3 men that tossed the pig. They came out, turned him upside down, on his back, caught him by the legs, and there was some men used a crook and they put a crook in his jaw, and there was sticking the pig, and he stuck the pig into his blood. More than used to use a rope round his snout. But I killed a few of them myself, like back years ago, like, because my father used to do it. But that's the way it used to be done. And then to get boiled water, you had the water pure boiling hot, and you'd have to skate that water all round on them to get off all, clean them off. There'd be a scum here with the when it would peel off with knives then off them. And when they'd been properly cleaned, then they'd hang them up and clean them out and leave them hanging maybe for a day. Maybe he was killed a day, he could be sorted tomorrow night.
Right, so if you cut the pig's throat or
yes.
You stuck him and you collected the blood?
Yes, right. Mostly they used to collect it.
Okay, so how would you do that?
Well, he'd be there on the ground, he'd be there with a little container, and then would be pumping out him, you know, cutting his throat about that length, and to be thrown out, and to keep this container in under to gather as much of it as the cold is. Well, some of it's spilled, but they get enough to do them anyway. Maybe probably the most of a half a bucket or a can, near enough.
And so that was made
into puddings.
Okay.
And they clean out the puddings and the stomach of the pig. They had to be brought away to a river and washed.
The gut.
The gut. And they mix this blood in with oatmeal. To keep stirring it and stirring as far as I remember now, and till it be fairly thick, and pack it into them and boil them. That's how they were made.
Yes, so the pig was killed and he was drained of blood.
That's right.
And you say you leave it hang? Or what, the next process was to leave it hang for a day or maybe?
Yes. If you killed him, we'd say today, he'd leave him hanging up until tomorrow evening. And you take him down then and take all the bones out of him. Split him down into halves. He'd be cut down, his backbone would be split down, the very centre of it. And he'd be in two halves, and then there'd be 3 separate parts of each side. The ham, we used to call it the back, and the side, and the shoulder. So that'd be salted. A lot of salt put on it, a couple of stones of salt. And that didn't teach us, that the tea used to come in years ago about that, and it would be just the neat bit of each pair, and that'd be packed down into the 6 and tight within it. I put a weight on it. I left there, I think it was for 9 days, before that. And to take it up in 9 days and look and see how it was going and change it about. And it was there a bit on the bacon that was stripped, like a raw looking. To put more salt on that and even it round about again and freshen it up. And put it back down again, and by the next time it will be lifted to be cured.
So this is just salt?
Salt.
It's still powder? Or
real bare salt. They used to come big bears of salt at that time, and they're grated with a grater. There'd be someone there the whole night at this, with the grating the salt on a table. And they'd be rubbed into it, the rub held out of the bacon, packing it in, round it in the box.
And so after 9 days, as you said,
you'd lift it again, take it up, leave it out on the table and change it about, maybe whatever part you had down that time, you'd put some other one, down in place of it and change it around. And if there was a bit of the bacon stripped or seen the other bit raw, look on that, it wasn't getting the salt right, to put a fresh bit of salt on that. And they used to use niter as well. I don't know what some people didn't like to do about the claim, like if it was very heavy bacon, I would say maybe a pig 300 weight. They'd make little holes in where the bacon would be deep and put little grains of niter down in it. Whether that was, I reckon that if it was real, that would need the niter, but it's real heavy bacon, I don't know.
And would it be left in the box or in this box until you needed it? Or
well, mostly you and was more than you used to take up a side of it and hang it up. They'd have it hung up in kitchens. But we never, you might take up a bit of it maybe, but you wouldn't take up that much of it. You could leave it in the box all the time. It would be sound in 12 months' time. Or it would be hit on it. You didn't need it. But to get the salt, it would be very salty. And it was no good in steeping it in something, but if you left it down into a container steeping it, it was no use. The best way you could do it, if you could do it, was if you had a clean barrel of water and have something come on across and leave it hanging in the water, and the salt would drip down to the bottom. But leaving it lying in it wasn't the job.
Yeah, if you're taking out a piece, it'd be a fairly big piece.
That's right, but you could have it if you wanted, or whatever. You could have it, right, yeah. Yeah.
So, as you said, you would have to either suspended in water or boil it? Maybe have to.
No, not boil, no. Just leave it hanging there, and it's pure before we cook it at all. In the container, just across. If you had a hook and have it slinging, in the water, and you dip the water down underneath of it. It would the salt would drip out of it that way. Yes. But to leave it down into the water, it was only soaking into it all the time. It wasn't leaving it. Stood to reason to it.
And so that one pig would maybe keep an average family for a year.
It would depend how many be in the house. Some of them would have them gone in 3-4 months and the more. Then you couldn't take the 12 months out of it. There was only a few people, I would say, and it wouldn't. It was depended like how they used it, because there was a lot of people. They wouldn't eat the fat part of it at all, and they'd be throwing the waste side of it. But it was a different type of fat, to be honest, than the ordinary bacon now. Like it would be, to be fair, better and nicer taste of it. And when you put it on a pan, like it was all lot of oil in it and everything. So you put on a pan, rasher on a pan now, you have to have oil on it, it'll burn up on you. But you needed nothing but it. It was all to be depth of oil coming off it, alone the home pure bacon. And it was the way she was fed, the pig was fed. She was fed on meal and flour. They used to give a lot of flour to them too that time. So the bacon today is only forced to see what these pigs is in factories, with the one meal, with the pig meal and like that, and heat and like that, and it's not the same at all. The same.
Would you use you had the bacon obviously and the pudding, black pudding.
Yeah.
And someone before was talking about brawn.
Brawn as well.
So what?
The brawn was the pig's head mostly we used in the brawn, and to take out all the bones out of the pig's head, to skin the head, and that was mixed with a bit of bacon, some amount of bacon, and maybe sauce and different. They had their own little big areas with it, and it would be boiled. I don't know how long to take a long time to boil in the pot. And when it would be boiled so long, then it would be left out to cool, and to be pure, like jelly, but pure. You cut it in slices to get pure venom when it would get cold, and to be a mixture of it would be strong stuff. No, you wouldn't eat much of it.
Okay, so that's somebody said what's it? You used every part of the pig except the squeal.
Squeal, I do. No, there was nothing left out.
I'm just thinking when you were sort of, probably leaving school and going to work, that was the late 50s or whatever it would be.
Right.
Just to move on to emigration. Were your family affected by emigration?
No, not that on my part. There was another brother and myself here now. And he went to Dublin, and he was a short time in England, and so I was too, but it'd be only for a short time. But before that, in my father's time, there was a lot of his sister and brother went to America. And there were a few sisters, but they come back a few of them, and there was 2 of them stayed in America. Beneath their eyes and his brother. And they went away at a very young age too, like after school age, I think, as far as I know.
But I'm sure you would have known people around where you lived who emigrated.
Oh Lord, oh God, I would. There was a lot of the majority of them around did. And a lot of them, that was in my time, a lot of them did. There's families of them, there's not one of them, but it's dead. That I knew and went to school with some of them. Some of them would be nice bit older than me, but not that desperate amount, like. But they're all dead, gone. Every one of them.
Would they go to England or America, or was there a preference?
Well, mostly, there were a lot of them to England now, and more of them went to America. Not that much of them to America from around here. There were a lot of them to England, around this very place now. Good few of them, in my time, like. Before that, I think years was mostly went to America, but in my time there was a lot of England from around here, and some of them made out on it and some who didn't, and that was just the way, you know.
For those who went to America, there's a thing called the American Wake. Do you remember that, or would you?
I do remember bits of it, surely. I do remember there used to be a dance the night before and all that, and there'd be the whole night. Never go to bed at all. So up the whole night, just dancing in the morning, then whoever drove the ones who would all left there at daylight in the morning in the car going to Shannon, or mostly Shannon they went to. And off.
And would that, I mean, presumably that would be kind of sad. I mean, that's the whole...
It would. But that was the done thing at that time. But I remember about an uncle of mine, there was 11 of a family in it. And they lived down there close to Drummer. And he went out to America, and he was, I don't know what at the time, he'd be out there preparing a place for the wife and the children. And she was at home here, but there was two of the sons, the eldest sons, I think, and himself in America. But I think it was 9 and her left. And I remember, I was very young now, I remember to be in the house the night before they left for America. And they left in the morning. Now, geez, I was awful young, I can't remember right what age it was. But they left in the early hours of the morning. And she had one of the children, the youngest was in her arms, the baby. And that time it was a whole week on sea. And it used to hear going on and on for years after that she had an awful time. They got seasick and everything. It was desperate what she suffered. The 9 children, I think the 9 of them on herself. But that was I remember that part of it all right, always.
Were you conscious about, people being reliant on the dollar being sent back? Or
all day, yes. There used to be, I think it happened, there was an aunt of mine used to always send dollars here every Christmas. And to be sure to land Christmas Eve. And then my father and mother would be looking out for that the same, and it was sure to land the last day, however she couldn't work it out, I don't know. Never went across Christmas, but it was surely to be the day before. I never remember going across, but my God, I tell you, they used to watch that. Aye, it was terror.
Was that essential moment?
It wasn't, just now that it wasn't that, but she always made a practice to do it, And to be rate out at that time was around 12 or 13 pounds. That was a lot of money that time. They were among the dollars here to see, I think that's what about 12 or 13 pounds of all money. But, she never, count the whole year from her. That's it just might send the card along with it. But the check landed this dollar. But she never, no writing constant or anything like that. Like the evening before the snow. He went to a fair in Mohall. He cycled from here to Mohall. I think it's around 21 miles from here to Mohall, or something around roughly. It could be more, no, I'm not quite sure of that, but he came the evening before. It was the loveliest evening now, like we say, day like this, and pure dry, sunny, and he says that he had no shoes on him. It was the 25th of February. And he says that you could take off your coat and leave it on the bicycle, you'd be sweating cycling. And he used to stay he had some place in Mohall that he used to stay when he used to go up there to fair. He'd be up the day before and come back to nap at the fair, whatever. But anyway, when he got up waking in the morning anyway, the snow, I couldn't see out the window. It was up on the windows. You'd have to go up and look at the whole place was covered. They all blocked all over the place. So he didn't get to move that day. But I think the following morning again, it all settled off and the wind settled, I think. And he set off about daylight in the morning. And he walked and walked and walked, and he landed here at 4 o'clock the next morning. That's the thing. I remember as well as, I always will remember him coming at 4 o'clock in the morning, knocking the door. That's what's the length. He was from daylight this morning till 4 o'clock tomorrow morning.
I just got lucky he didn't lose his way.
But it was a sight. He told me, he explained, he said that he mostly went where he saw people's tracks walking. You couldn't know where roads was. And he followed tracks, he says, and knew the direction, kept going in the direction. He had the daylight with him all the way till he came down, and he said to Drumshanbo, what he knew when he came to Drumshanbo around there, he knew it better, you see. And there was more tracks on the road, you see, because it was that day later. It wasn't, it was different if the snow was only after taking place, like, but there was track where there was people using it. But he was spared to one up. I think he had to put him up on the way over in McHugh's beyond Hubert's, that Miss McHugh we called in there before he came in. I suppose he was beaten and out. And he was pure horse. You wouldn't know what he was saying. I remember that morning, you wouldn't know what he was saying. He was that horse.
And then there was other things. I think there was, I know Brendan Keevan.
That's right.
Because I think it was 2 days before he got married or after he got married.
That's right.
I can't quite remember the date.
That's right.
But practically a hurricane.
That's right. That was 16th September, I remember well of it. Because it was at Brendan's wedding, and I remember we were working with the forestry at that time. And we came from Origna, we were working up in Origna at that time. And at that time it was half day, they put in a half day of a Saturday on jobs. And when we were leaving Origna, there was, you could hear it, we were working down like in a hollow place, and you wouldn't know, it probably was wild, you were up on a hill, we didn't understand that was. But we came on into the fair in Dunkeeran, it was the 16th of September. When we landed there, all was in an uproar anyway. It was bringing the slates of the houses and chimneys and all down on top of cars and everything. And there wasn't one on the streets, but it was in the houses, so we were afraid to go out. It was desperate. But trees, that depth up along roads, big trees that was there for years and years and years, and brought them roots and all up. Oh, it was fierce. It was fierce windstorm.
And I think Brendan tells the story of the cocks of hay and everything.
Oh,
blown.
That's right. But never seen. Never. You wouldn't know where they were. But it spun them on the ground and went way up, and it went off like a mist. It didn't matter if anything was out in the snow, it just brought it. Or turned it over. Some of the two, it was heavy enough that it went over. Breaks of hay or pikes of hay, just rolled over. But the cocks of hay that was out in the open at all, they were gone, they were swept, not a trace of them. Some of them was caught in hedges, but it was a hedge maybe you might be looking up. They were picking it out of the hedges and trying to gather up blocks of it, and the hay to be gathering wasn't their own at all. Their own was got some other place, so what was it? There was hay got away up here above the came anyway, that came in across the mountain, that wasn't going about here at all. So came in from good land up there with the Sligo.
Of course you brought it back.
No, they didn't bring it back, but I didn't put it back.
They're gone now, but in that time there would have been sort of the markets and fairs and stuff in Drumkeeran.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. Not selling cattle would be the main one.
The poor guy, you'd leave here in the morning with your cattle and into the fair there, and there'd be men coming down from probably up around Carrick-on-Shannon, from Shambo, dealers, and they'd pick out whatever based out of them, and they might maybe one out of a batch. You might have 4 or 5 cattle there, and there might be only one that'll suit them. And the bargain we made, you'd ask so much for that beast, and they'd put so much on them, and they might come up a bit and you come down a bit to be to suit, and if you were, till you'd be satisfied, and if you wasn't satisfied with the price, then we'd leave and wouldn't take him at all. They thought he was too dear. So that was the run of it. And you could go to fairs then, and you mightn't be as they used to say, there mightn't be a shilling put on them at all. Bad fare, maybe no market for them at all. There's a lot of that.
So a lot of the time you actually come home with the cattle?
My God, most of the times. The best time of all was around March and April and May maybe. Or when it crossed May and into June, July and August, I would better not be going. wouldn't be nobody. There was men that buy them for to put them out on grass that time of the year, you know. But then when the summer thing came in, they had what they wanted, and there was no buying that time. No market for them. And you could maybe in November then again, when they'd sell off the cattle that somewhat on the grass, they might buy in a few more than that November, and you might get rid then again.
So who would you be selling to in the market? Like, I'm just thinking, would you not go direct to an abattoir and sell?
No, there'd be just men that come, there'd be dealers or farmers up the country. There'd be dealers up the country, maybe that might have an order for so many cattle, or they might be putting them out on land of their own. You just wouldn't know where. You just were living in hopes that some of them fellas come along. There was no other market for them.
Yeah, and you spoke a little bit earlier then about sort of you had maybe your price, and then
that's right.
The buyer had his own price.
He had his own price, so and you were expecting so much, and he was expecting to get that beef for less.
Mm-hmm.
And he would say, you asked at that time, would say £50 for a beef, he might put 40 on it. And then that was the job then to get him to 45 and to get the man down to 45. That was, you know, you could hit on it that way too now. The head that go through was used to say the £10 then. One of them would say he would, and the other fellow say he wouldn't. And that's where the base started. And then there was such thing as that the base luck, the man that whatever price he was given, you would have to give so much luck to be say they had to get £1 luck out of him. 10 shillings luck, the whole money, and all this kind of thing that had to be put in it too. To give a certain amount of luck, then the man that sold, all of us nearly. So they had a big or small.
And I've kind of seen it, well, you know, on TV or whatever, where there was a middleman maybe.
That's right, making the bargain.
So
he'd step in and he'd take their two hands and keep at them. Like, you'll do it this way, and he'll make the bargain. You'll not break my word and all this kind of thing. And he convinced them anyway that the fellow that was buying, he'd say, well, I give it. The other man then some part of him might say he wouldn't. He'd put up a fight too to see what he come and get your man another bit. And that'd go on. Shouting and slapping and all that kind of thing.
Well, what other kind of things would happen at the fair? You're selling of cattle, would it be?
They used to be, they call them chants then, they used to be clothes, mostly. They used to come then and have little with bands on that have clothes, pants and jackets and coats and all that kind of thing, and selling them on the streets too as well. Cantmen they used to call them. That was mostly what to be. And herons. We come with fish then, herons in around November, this time of the year. They'll be out too as well.
Would there be kind of drinking in the pubs after?
Oh, there would. That'd be going on all day at the fair, in and out to the pubs, and there'd be bargains. There'd be at them making bargains within the pub, and all that type of thing. Oh, there'd be a few. That'd be going on the whole day, and on till the pubs are closed that night. To be a certain amount of them about the town, That would be a big day for them, that would be lots of noise that day, I tell you.
How often would that happen?
They used to, nearly every month, was a fair every month. Some, there was 23rd of April and the 27th of May and 24th of June, 19th of July, I think it was. And August, 18th of August, and all that kind of thing, and September, and all that. There was dates in every month. Every month was mostly once a month to be a fair in Drumkeeran. And then in Drumahare, there used to be the first Tuesday of every month, the fairs in Drumahare. We always mostly used to go to Drumkeeran, seldom we used to go to Drumahare.
Different days for different times.
All our day, and Manor Hamilton. Then they nearly had one every month too. Well, 12th of every month was the run of it in Manor Hamilton.
Would every family would have cattle to sell? Usually raise cattle to sell.
They would. Mostly them all. Some amount anyway. Mightn't have many, but There wasn't very few people that would have very much cattle. There'd be all only at that time the majority of them would be only working out with say 8 or 9 cattle maybe anyway. Some of them less, some a bit more, but in around averagely around that'd be around the run of it.
8 or 9 cattle.
Yeah, maybe 4 cows, maybe and a couple of young cattle or something like that,
So the
Calves.
cows would be for themselves, for the milk
For the
themselves.
milk, that's what they're watching, yeah.
And then whatever heifers or bullocks.
Heifers or bullocks, then they might manage to keep them on for a while to get them saleable. Mostly, I remember the country house dances. I used to see them here, and a few of them, not so much. Mostly the halls took over then after that. And Creevely Hall down here, Drumahare, Balnagar, those type of halls.
Well, what were the house dances like? What were they?
There's ordinary country house dances now, like when there be whoever, if there was any musicians in the area, they'd call for the night and play or that dance here tonight, and maybe some other house, maybe tomorrow night, and all that type of thing.
So would people come in?
Yeah, and they used to ask them. They used to ask people if you'd be asked to the dance all around your area, whatever few people that would be going to them, to be asked to it. When you go beyond that, then there'll be another one to ask their area.
I mean, would the musicians be paid for this?
No. Oh, it's done voluntary. No, there's no payment. Oh, no, that ain't paid. No, it's all free.
Was it traditional music?
Well, all traditional, all good, reels and jigs and all that type of thing. Fiddle players and accordion players, mostly.
And then what time would that go on?
Oh, it could go on till daylight in the morning, maybe. All hours of the morning. Maybe if there was nobody going away out of it, like if there's only an ordinary dance, it might give over about 2 or 3 o'clock in the night. But if there's someone going to America, like that, there's one like 1 the whole bloody night. So it was just.
And then you were saying that then the dance halls took over.
The dance halls, all the country house dances then died off. That was the end of that thing.
What kind of year would that have been?
No, that'd be, we'll say, the late 50s, middle 50s anyway. When once you came into 60 anyway, that wasn't work, you could say there wasn't more country house dances anyway. I could never remember of any of that more.
So what's curious is, say, in the country house dances, it was traditional music. And then in the big halls, there was a lot of jazz,
yes.
Big bands.
Big bands, aye.
Brass sections.
Yes, but then there was chili bands as well now.
Okay.
There was both. But there was more other bands. Now, I remember to see, there was 2 halls in Drumkeeran. Tesley's, it's called, and Wynn's Hall. Paddy Kelly's it used to be called at one time. But that corner house, Wynn's pub, that's there, the way you call. Well, right to there was a hall there, and there was another one then if you went out to Dower Road, with the post office is there. And they sing Cayley and Wynn's Hall, and a dance then in the other. And you could go from one to the other. And about half a crown would be the chairs on the door at that time. And you could do it was one side, you'd be up and down, from one place to the other.
Were those halls usually like parish halls, or the
no, well, Tesley's now, as we used to call it, Chapel, it belonged to her now. And Wynn's Hall there, I don't know who was it. Well, Wynn, I don't know how that went now. I don't think the priest had anything got to do with it, no, I don't think. But Balnagar they had down here in Balnagar, the priest, and on Creevely, the priest to be at the back of that, all right.
Right. Because I think it seemed to be, you can get a longer time. What was it, Emma? Or be open later down there. From Shambo or something down here.
Yeah.
Because the different dioceses.
That's right, yes.
It's kind of curious. So, again, moving kind of on, would you have remembered rural electrification?
I do remember well when it came.
Okay, can you talk a little bit?
It came around 58, 59 maybe, in around that. And there was no light, only ordinary lamps at that time. was tilly lamps. There's only the odd one had a tilly lamp. The other one was the wick lamps, the globes on them. Then when he came in, then there were some people didn't want to sign where they were afraid of it. Be afraid that it was going to burn the house. There was quite a few thatched houses at that time, and they were afraid with the electricity that the whole fire the roofs of them. And it took a long time to convince them to get it. So finally they did. But it was a great lift. It was the first lift we got around with because it lit up the whole place, you know. They give employment. Well, not so much employment, there was only a few like around that was. But mostly they came down from South Leitrim and they had the contractor at it that was at that time, you know. It was only the odd few from around here working on it.
So what difference did that make? I mean, there was light, but did it make any more difference? I'm thinking, would you have had a wireless at that stage or before?
We had battery wireless. Worked with batteries, and you had to get them batteries charged and all that type of thing. Or that was the difference. Then, then when you got the electricity, then you got wireless, then you plugged them in, and that was it.
Well, just on that, so do you remember the first wireless that you listened to?
I do. It was in a house across the road, way up on the hill, way up there. That was the first time ever and it was this man's sister, she was a Yankee, came home on holidays and she bought him a wireless. And that was the first wireless I remember. I used to be a little boy, but I used to go up with his father and myself, used to go up it was Saturday night. There was program on the ballet maker, they were singers, Saturday night. I used to always go up on a Saturday night to hear.
And in those days you needed, it was a wet battery?
Wet battery.
Okay. So then your own family got a radio?
Oh, we got one then, after that then, and nearly every house around got one. As in when I started degrees.
Yeah. What year would this be?
These had to be back, you know, let's see, no, to be very early 50s. Very early 50s. Maybe 49, or maybe. When I remember the wireless coming first, or the radio to, you know, might be 10 years at all. It could be in the late 40s, right?
How did it work, the wet battery? I mean, it was charged. I mean, what was the process of getting it recharged?
There was a fellow down in Kildare who used to do it, but I don't know how it was. It was on them, he had some gadget for doing it. And you could bring it down there and get it done. And then there was a bread man that used to come around here. He had some ways of doing it too, and he'd collect them with the bread man and bring them back. He'd bring them like today and he'd bring them back maybe in a week's time again, charged and all.
And how much was that?
Jesus, I can't remember what the charge was. I can't remember. It could be only a few bob. No, it wouldn't be too dear. But I can't remember what to take to charge, to get them charged.
So what did it mean to have a radio in the house? Would the family sit around and listen to it?
Oh God, they would, especially, but then they had their own little programs that they'd like to hear, and they'd all watch for that, you see. There was certain stuff that got cute to it, that they know the time it would be on it, and all, they wouldn't be put on then for other stuff at all, you see. And the news and all the little things they'd be watching for. But it would be turned off then when they just get their own little bit of it. There was a few people that didn't take it, like, all right, and they never got it, like this. They turned off the lamp all the time. And even over the road, like, you get the odd man that was living on his own, old fellas that was living on their own, they couldn't see the way, at that time, maybe before they got the pension, they hadn't the money, and they were afraid they wouldn't be able to afford it. Didn't bother, didn't take it at all. Couldn't show them know they was lived on their own. Never took it.
There's some people, or somebody was saying to me that the priest was very important in terms of trying to bring, persuade people.
But he would be, yes. But there was a certain amount of them he wouldn't be able to, because like they got it on their mind that they wouldn't get it, and that was it. The most thing they were afraid of was the money, that it could be, you know, I think it was the money. They were afraid of that, I think, that there'd be a big bill stuck on them or something. They didn't want to get involved at all. They put up with what the right they had, and I was so happy with that.
Just going backwards a little bit, again, there was a self-sufficiency when, I suppose, you were growing up in terms of your food and your fuel and turf and all the rest of it. In terms of say, clothes or shoes, was there local cobblers or tailors or what?
There was. There was certain no-good. My mother was a dressmaker now. She used to make a lot of clothes for people. And she worked under my hair like before she got married, like, and she worked like there for years, like, and when she was paid like for there, but once she came here, she only obliged people like for the big clothes, and for the big families, she'd always make clothes for the children and like that. She loved to be at it, she was very interested in it. Then there was a man, then there was shoemakers then as well. You would bring away your shoes and get soles on them and all that type of thing. You hadn't to go to Sligo down here to get it done. There was many out the country that could do it. I've seen that going on.
And would they make shoes also?
Yeah, no, I never knew them making shoes, no, but they'd mend them. The soles wore on them and heels and all that to be well able to put on new soles on them and do them up on that line. But I don't remember. They say there was one man over here that used that all right. I think they could, but just before my time now. I in the racing going on, it was only mending them now. I didn't see them making the shoes.
Sorry, I forgot my train of thought. Oh yeah, I was just thinking about blacksmiths.
Aye.
I mean, there would have been an awful lot of ironmongery around, obviously, and spades and stuff.
Yes, I always was that kind.
So would have been local blacksmiths around?
There would be, all our day. There was one down the road here from here, and there could be two about from Kieran, and one or two went around my hair, two or three men around my hair. Every year you had lots of blacksmiths, plenty of them, because the country was full of animals working that time, and they were getting plenty to do, more than they were able to do. Everyone, the majority of people, you see, had some type of a pony or something. Even donkeys had them, but shoes put on them. That was on the road, were fairly constant.
And would the blacksmith make other things as well, apart from horseshoes?
He was able to, the blacksmith was going that time, he'd make if there was a scarcity of iron, he could make the shoe out of any iron. He could cut the iron and shape the shoe and all, and do the whole thing himself. They were great trade in them times. And they could make tools as well. They could make irons for spare alloys and different things, punches. But temper, there was a temper they used to have to put in, and chisels and all that type of thing. Oh God, they were a great trade. Very good.
And so there was one basically down here, and you say, and two maybe in the village?
Oh, there would be. There was two out from here anyway. And there was one down the road from here, and one maybe in the town from here. And when you go out to a place called Friarstown, there was another man that named Mara. We used to go down to him, because he came from around here. My father used to always send us down to him. We used to keep mostly 2 horses here at that time. And we used to go down when we were young lads with them. And that was, we should do a lot of work for around the country, like with them. So they should be constant on the move.
Oh, they would move, is it, the blacksmiths would move, is it, or?
No, but I'm saying the horses would be all the same work. We used to work a lot with horses, like we'd be doing work with them out through the country, like mowing and ploughing and all that type of thing. Aye. Yeah.
People had a cure, or they had a potion, or they had some kind of herbal remedy or something. No,
yeah.
when you, I suppose maybe partly the reason was that maybe doctors were so expensive to go to anyway. But do you have any kind of knowledge of that or experience with that when you were growing up?
Oh God, I do. I remember there being all our day. There was a man over that pair from Cuberts at all. He was a man by the name of Bob Robinson. He had a lot of cures. And even I took one time, I went to him myself, like he had all, he used to call it the rose. The whole head is all swelled up with it. And I took it, it came like a toothache. And Oh, I got fierce bad with it when I went down to Manor Hamilton, down to the dentist. I thought that the teeth was causing it, and I went in, oh, the dentist said, he says, oh, I couldn't do nothing, I couldn't do it better. He says, I'll bring the hospital, go out to the hospital. He said, just do something for you. He says, get an injection, couldn't. Out anyways, went to the hospital and got an injection. Or kind of, numbed it a bit. But there was an awful throb. When I came home anyway, next day worse. There was an old woman used to come over here. There was nobody here, myself and my father at the time, and I was blown bed. I was whitening out with it. It was only a few days this time. She said, why didn't you go over to Bob Robinson, get the cure made? Oh, you wouldn't hear that, and getting him down and getting an injection and all. I said, oh, don't go over to Bob Robinson. What could he do with it? But they convinced me anyway to go over. They pleased them anyway. I got up anyway, I went over. And there was a lane going up the road, long lane up a hill. And I remember I had to rest a couple of times going up the hill. And I landed above Bob Robinson's anyway. Looked at it. He says to me, he says, you take tea? Oh, Bob says, sure, I couldn't take tea. He said, no, there was no tea, you couldn't look at it. But he went out and he was in with the cure. And I'm not certain sure did I put it on there and then or not. But I remember it was in little, with herbs in it and butter. Small little lumps. And there was 3 of them to be rubbed on with the sign of the cross on my face. And 3 times a day, I think that was the. But I'm not sure did I put it on there and then or not. But I took tea. I know you took tea now, and I took tea and bread in it before I left. I felt like it. Whether it was the mind or whatever. Now he says, when I left, he said, I guarantee it won't burst inside anyway, or outside. It won't burst outside, he says. He didn't know what he meant. And I came home, and I went to bed again. And when I wakened around 3 or 4 o'clock, I could find myself lifting up, and it was cooling down, and I put it on again. And I went out working that evening, out that day, and I never looked back. The next day, it was a couple of days were gone. That was one instance. And I oftentimes met him after, and he asked me, God, Jesus, you were a bad case. But I heard of several more. There was a young lad, a little boy, and the father was working in a factory beyond in Gowna, over in County Sligo. And he was telling them from here how this young lad had a swollen, something happened on his shin, lump came out on it, but all over the place, up to Dublin here, and they could do nothing. Didn't know what caused it, could do nothing about it. And they proposed him to come to Robinson. He landed on Robinson and it went down. Whatever,
So it was kind of it's like he had a herbal remedy.
He must have.
And a kind of maybe a prayer.
Some prayer around it.
Was that the usual? Would you have a herbal and maybe a bit of religion or prayer or something?
Well, his mum was a Protestant now. I don't know what he was a Protestant. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I think I can't remember now, but I remember me putting it on with the sign of the cross. I put on down on the cross, and I was rubbing it on. And this other thing then, there was for what that cure was it? Mumps, that's right. That's what it was. Now, Hubert's father used to make that, and it was great. We were over there and then, not a word about it. I remember making for me when I was very young, and he made it for Nula, because I brought Nula over to him. And there was no word, that was it, that was into it. They went to the tree mere in water, and he lifted the water on his hand, and you drank the water at where the 3 lands, each man's land meets at the 3 ends. And I didn't know what prayer he said or whatever, but you drank the water off his hand. And that was it.
Would I have, so this Bob Robertson is
Hey, Robson, yeah.
he was renowned then as a
Oh, he was. He had several cures, more than that. I think it was I don't know what else now, but that was the only one I came in with.
what would you call him? Would you call him a herbalist or
No, he was only an ordinary man that lived now in the country. There was no, at that time, you see, there wasn't much talk about him at all. It was only later after that they realised the good of him, because like there was cure the moat thing that other people had. Moat in your eye, they could take out the moat. Something, I can't remember what prayer they used to say or whatever.
there's two kind of related things. Would there have been women nearby who would be kind of like would act as a midwife when there was a birth?
That's right.
They wouldn't be nurses now, but they'd be known to be good.
That's right.
How would that work?
Well, it was maybe some woman in every area, and that was her job. She'd always go to these houses, and that was done voluntary too, no money out of it. That was a done thing at that time.
They have the kind of expertise.
That's right. Yes, and it worked.
There were certain people maybe who would have laid out the body again. Maybe
That's right. The
neighbours
same as that. Yes, there was certain people that done it, and they were they'd be expected to be asked, and they wouldn't be pleased if they weren't asked to do it. They got that ways about it. Like another one wouldn't want to, to hear, you'd be afraid you wouldn't, but they loved doing it, and that was it.
They wouldn't necessarily be family, no?
Not at all. Mostly always they wouldn't be connected to people at all, mostly. They always, like in them times, it was nearly always an outsider. They wouldn't be related at all to the family that lay out the corpse. Mostly that time, that was always nearly the case. No relation.
Would the laying out be washing?
Washing them and all, and putting the habit on them and the whole lot, shaving them. Aye. And good they were at it, the people that was used to it knew the job, and they supposed to improve on it as they went along, And there was, they loved doing it. And then they thought they were, they believed that it was that it was a good deed, and all that. They felt great about doing it, and that was a good thing to do and all that.
When someone died, what was the funeral like? Would it be laid out in the house?
In the house.
There'd be the wake.
Every house.
What would that be like, the wake itself?
Well, the neighbours all gather in that night, and there'd be no going to bed at all. There'd be to sit up the whole night. Especially the ones in the house. At that time, in my young years, there'd be no such thing. Unless the people in the house wouldn't go to bed at all. They'd stay up the whole night anyway. And certain amount of the neighbours, and the majority of them would go home, coming on late in the night or coming on to morning, but there'd always be a certain amount of other people that'd stay with them. The family wouldn't be left on their own with the corpse. There'd be always a few outsiders that'd be there that'd stay on anyway, the neighbours around, to be the done thing.
And would there be the removal? Would actually be the funeral, the burial?
The next thing, they'd be in the house overnight, and the next evening then the removal would be to the chapel. The main thing about the chapel and left overnight, and then the burial would be the next morning. And if it was a short run, there'd be no hearse at all got. Well, very seldom there was a hearse the evening of the removal at all, the remains would be carried. There was 4 people to carry the remains, a certain to change, and so we step in, pour more, and bring them another bit and change around like that, to bring them a mile or whatever.
And would there be kind of, I don't know, would it be drink or sandwiches?
There would, God, most places there would. There'd be a certain amount of drink at all these wakes, and if they could afford it at all, there'd be always tea, and worst case you get tea and all that kind of thing. Some of the places too much of it, and more then there might be very little and that type of thing, They'd be talking about that then, you see, that was that you didn't bury them decent. Didn't get their fill. Don't worry
They're
about
still
that.
talking.
That'll be going on then we're ages after.
Just kind of sticking with the religion kind of idea. Holy wells and patterns. Would that be a feature around here at all?
No, there was near one now around here. The Killargy, Sligo. That'd be the only nearest one that I don't know. There's one down in Killargy and there's one below Tumbernath, below in Sligo.
And would you go on a pattern day?
We used to go one time mostly to Tumbernath. That'd be the last Sunday of July, Garland Sunday they used to call it. And there'd be mass there that morning and all that, and say the people around it. And still goes strong all the time. Killargy, the 15th of August.
And when there's a mass, you would walk. Would you walk to it? No, you wouldn't walk to it. Would you drive to it?
Drive to it, and then we open air mass there.
At the well.
At the well. Well, no, I wasn't at it now in a good few years, but that's what it used to be. Probably now there maybe be a tent now, maybe some coverage if the weather or to save them from. But one time it would be open.
There's a farming thing that I never really looked at because it was all manual, well, mostly manual in terms of harvesting.
Yeah.
Harvesting hay.
Yeah.
Barley, whatever it would be. They did the metal and people working together.
That's right.
How would that work and what would go on and would it be a celebration afterwards?
Well, sometimes not so much, a bit of that, but not in my time. I think that stopped too. That used to go on like before that, but I never seen much of that at all. But they gathered around, like when they be gathering the hay, I go to you when you would come up 3 or 4 men to me, we're here putting in these bricks of hay. I go to bring to you tomorrow and the next day. That's the way they used to work. Because it was different when you be saving the hay, you could do that on your own or with the help your whatever people you have about the house. But when it to go from gathering these rocks of hay into a big all together, you needed help then, you see, or to build it and pitch it and all this type of thing. So you had to all gather up that time and go to one another to get it.
And when that was done, would you get a meal or something?
Oh, God, Jesus, when that day you'd be getting your meals that day in that house. Your breakfast and dinner and tea and all that. Whatever breakfast would be, mostly always was lots of food in that house to have to be got for that day anyway. And I didn't want to look out for his part of it, whatever he'd have to have, most cases the wood now. They'd have lots that day anyway. But that was what kept them, the whole thing together and kept it going because they were neighbours to help one another. And I'd say that's how they survived.
Would something similar happen, say, with the winning turf, cutting turf?
Oh, yes. But the same thing, they used to swap around like that. If your men go together with them, and then they'd cut for me today, and I go to them tomorrow. And there'd be always a lot of that went on too.
All you'd need would be a cutter and a
wheeler.
And a wheeler.
And there could be 2 or 3 cutters going to one man, for the one man. But you would have to go back to him, or mostly what they used to go back, they wouldn't be paid at them times. Like you'd go back a day to him then or whatever. Whatever at the time he gave you, you go back and do the same at the time with him. So that was the thing that used to work that way. And in a lot of cases then you had to be middling good at it because there was some people who wouldn't ask to go because there'd be no use at it and they were left at home. All this type of thing used to go on.
Okay.
And if there was places then where they used to stick pity on them if they were delicate people that all gather up and they'd have their own done and they'd all go and do his work. If they had a bit of time at all left.
And that doesn't happen anymore.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But people have machines.
Machines and it's a different ball game altogether now.
Is there anyone cutting turf anymore?
No, but spades about here, no. No, there wouldn't the young lads wouldn't no one hate about it. Not to hate that more than it's rare in the city. That's as rare in the country now, wouldn't one hate more than if it were out of a town or a city. That's probably it.
And it's because you can buy coal?
Buy coal or this machine. The machine came along and that was it. All I know is to throw them around and save them. But for the cutting of them up, I wouldn't have a clue. Not a clue.
It's just something that's occurred to me that I didn't think of. If you're so reliant on your own labour, your own hands to do work, were you conscious, would you be conscious, when you were younger, of what the weather would be like?
Oh Lord,
Would you have a weather kind of an idea? Would it be bad tomorrow?
You would. Oh, you'd be watching that all the time too, because when you'd be going to a bog, you had to look out for that to use it to the best of your knowledge, because you brought food and all that type of thing with you in the morning, the day to come bad, you see to spoil the whole thing on you. And you might have somebody got for you for the day, and you'd be held up there the whole day and couldn't do nothing at all. So we often went to it, and you'd be in the house maybe the whole day waiting for the fair and wouldn't fair at all. You'd get out to do nothing. Or you'd meet lots of that too on it. You would always, especially when you were going to go bog, you could try, if you ever could try to be out in good weather. That's what it was, a lot of it was all about. Because when you were making the journey at all, to get as much as you could out of it.
I'm just thinking, was there any kind of weather sayings? Were you able to say, I don't know, red sky at night?
There were good eyes. Were able to, you'd be a good judge of the sky too. You'd be well able to nearly know most times whether the day was going to hold out or not. Aye, you know in the morning, with the appearance of it. You get very well up on it, because you'd have to. Because you'd be caught so many times, you see, you'd know, you'd be fair judge of the weather yourself.
I'm just thinking, here, it's kind of straight off the Atlantic.
That's right. That's right.
That must be difficult to determine.
It was, but still, you'd manage it. Then there used to be long spells of bad weather too as well, and you used to suffer that time too. There'd be weeks and weeks that you might get nothing done at all, you see. And that threw the whole thing back. The time was going round, and you were late with everything then. You were late cutting the turf, and if you didn't get the spell of weather, then you might drag on that you mightn't get them saved right at all. So back late in the year, they hear them awful trouble saving them. They come in a mist on the mountain, or the higher up you went, the harder they were saved. What you think was different was, you imagine that it would be better way up high than whatever was to with the mist, it'd lie on the mountain. And when the days start to get short at all, it only lit for a couple of hours in the middle of the day, and it's coming in again in the evening. Whereas if you had turf down the country, the mist was gone early in the morning, and it was drying below, where it wouldn't be drying above at all.